In a joint press conference with his Iraqi counterpart, Jawad Zarif says the Syrian people are the only side entitled to decide their future. The Syrian Arab Army restores security and stability to several areas in Aleppo, Lattakia countryside and Homs. The Egyptian people participate on a wide scale in the referendum on the new constitution. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Irado Krikorian with the news in English. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif has said the Syrian people are the only decision maker of their country's future, hoping Geneva II, the international conference on Syria, would lead to the aspired for results. During a joint press conference with his Iraqi counterpart Hoshyar Zibari in Baghdad, Zarif said Iran will attend Geneva II if it is invited. Zarif said Iraq was the victim of terrorism, referring to his country's support for the Iraqi government's efforts to combat terrorism. Zibari, on his part, voiced support for the presence at the conference in Geneva of all the states concerned with the crisis, including Iran. Upon his arrival earlier at Baghdad airport from Beirut, the Iranian foreign minister said extremism and terrorism were a regional problem that needed regional solutions, as well as the cooperation of all the states of the region. He stressed his country's support for the Iraqi government's efforts in confrontation of extremism and terrorism, calling for abandoning narrow-sightedness and working for the future of the region. Palestinian Minister of Labour Ahmed Mojdalani has said the armed groups have targeted all Palestinian camps in Syria, inflicting heavy losses on them in men and material and leading to a huge humanitarian catastrophe that has formed a burden for the Syrian state. In a press conference held in Damascus, Mojdalani said more than 300,000 Palestinians have been displaced as a result of the armed terrorist groups' assaults against Palestinian camps and houses. The most dangerous of which has been the targeting of al-Yarmouk camp by those groups who have carried out acts of systematic terrorism against the inhabitants. Mojdalani said the Syrian state has exerted big efforts to allow the entrance of assistance into the camp. However, the terrorist groups targeted the assistance convoys, he added. Mojdalani stressed that using the Palestinians as a side in the crisis in Syria will not serve any political demand or objective, adding that a set of alternatives have been discussed to deal with the situation in al-Yarmouk camp, and certain measures have been agreed upon with the Minister of Social Affairs to allow relief material into the camp and the exit of those who are willing to leave it. The Palestinian People's Committee in the Palestinian refugee camp of al-Yarmouk confirmed that the armed terrorist groups in the camp have attacked by gunfire a convoy of UN Relief and Works Agency, preventing it from carrying aid to the camp. The committee said that upon the arrival of the aid convoy, which consists of several trucks loaded with tons of food, to the southeastern entrance of the camp, the armed terrorist groups inside the camp shot heavy gunfire, preventing again the new attempt to alleviate the suffering of the people inside the camp after all necessary measures were taken by the Syrian government to guarantee the entry of the food assistance in cooperation with the UNRWA. The Palestinian People's Committee called on all the free people in the world to uncover the truth about the armed terrorist groups and their backers, as the facts were distorted, laying false accusations on the Syrian government to divert attention from the reality of what's going on against the Palestinian people inside the camp and also against the Syrian people in Syria as a whole. Russian Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu said that last December Russia handed over to Syria combat equipment of high mobility capacity as well as armored vehicles and other means necessary to carry Syrian chemical weapons to the Lattakia port. During a video call today with Captain Oleg Bishkorov, commander of Russian warships in the Mediterranean, Shoigu said that the Russian side, in cooperation with the international community, is currently implementing the military-naval phase to ensure the security of shipping and transporting Syrian chemical weapons into their dump. He added that the operational forces of the Russian fleet in the Mediterranean are participating in this task. In turn, Captain Bishkorov said that the heavy atomic missile torpedo Pyotr Veliki, which is part of the Russian fleet in the Mediterranean, is accompanying the Danish ship which carries the Syrian chemical weapons into their dump. Welcome back. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab Army has dismantled dozens of explosive devices planted by terrorists in al-Naqarin, al-Zarzour and al-Mushbel in Aleppo suburbs after eliminating their last gatherings. The army also foiled an attempt by terrorists to attack inhabitants in the surroundings of al-Hikmi school and Shamsa in the al-Rashidin neighborhood in Aleppo, killing and injuring most of the terrorists. An army unit also clashed with a terrorist group that had tried to infiltrate from Bani Zaid quarter in the direction of al-Ashrafiyeh, killing most of its members. In the ancient part of Aleppo city, a Syrian Arab army unit eliminated terrorist gatherings in Babis neighborhood and the surroundings of Aleppo central prison, killing scores of terrorists and wounding others. Large quantities of weapons and ammunition were destroyed. In Lattakia countryside, a military source affirmed that Syrian Arab army destroyed vehicles loaded with weapons and ammunition and equipped with machine guns, killing many terrorists. Most of them are Saudis, Qataris, Libyans, and Turkish. In Dalla province, units of the Syrian Arab armed forces have targeted terrorist gatherings in Sahm al-Jawlan, Tsil, al-Nasiriyya and al-Thuriyya roundabout, eliminating scores of them who are trying to infiltrate from Dara countryside to Al-Mjayrim town in al-Suwaida province. Moreover, other units of the Syrian Arab armed forces have killed terrorists in Jordan Street, Al-Karak quarter, the vicinity of Al-Hamza and Bilal al-Habashi mosques, and injured others. Another unit of the Syrian Arab armed forces targeted a terrorist gathering in Al-Sahwa town and destroyed a vehicle with all terrorists inside. In Homs province, units of the Syrian Arab armed forces have targeted a number of terrorists in Al-Khalidiyya, Al-Dar al-Kabira, Arshuna and Sheikh Ibrahim al-Hakim farm areas in Al-Rastan and destroyed a vehicle equipped with a 23mm machine gun. Other units of the Syrian Arab armed forces have foiled attempts made by terrorists to infiltrate between Tal Jdid and Abu al-Alaya towns, inflicting heavy losses among them. In Homs, the Syrian Arab army continued to chase the armed terrorist groups in the old neighborhoods of the city, maintaining control on several residential buildings in Bab Houd. Despite the difficulties in fighting in the narrow roads and lanes of the old city, the Syrian Arab army units continued to advance forward, pounding the terrorist gatherings, regaining control over some important buildings in order to cut off the supplies from reaching the terrorist groups in Bab Houd. In Homs, a terrorist group that tried to infiltrate from Al-Husn village and Al-Zara to Al-Mitras in Al-Naqab valley has been ambushed and completely eliminated by the Syrian Arab army units. In al-Sina'a neighborhood in Deir ez-Zor, Syrian Arab Army is combing the area, killing many terrorists. Syrian Arab Army units clashed with several terrorist groups that were trying to plant explosive devices in the neighborhood, killing many of them. Al-Sina'a neighborhood is considered as an important strategic area for the terrorists because it is close to Deir ez-Zor airport. Finally, Egyptians started today voting on a new constitution amid heavy security measures. Egyptians headed today morning to the ballot boxes to vote on the new constitution. There are 52 million eligible voters distributed in 30,000 subcommittees available in 11,000 polling centers. More than 17,000 observers from local and international organizations follow up the voting process amidst heavy security measures. Egyptian acting President Adli Mansour called on the Egyptians to participate in the referendum in order to prove that they are not afraid of terrorism. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.